Top United Nations officials, including the President of the General Assembly, Joseph Dice, and the Executive Director of UNAIDS, Michel Sidibe, joined UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon at Wednesday's opening of the UN high-level meeting on AIDS, calling for broad action to fully combat and end HIV infections and AIDS-related deaths.
Today, the challenge has changed. Today, we gather to end AIDS. That is our goal. On end to AIDS within the decade, zero new infections, zero stigma, and zero AIDS-related death. But if we are to relegate AIDS to the history books, we must be bold. That means facing sensitive issues, including men who have sex with men, drug users, and sex trade.
I believe that if we are to succeed, it is essential for our actions to be based on a broad partnership in which governments, the private sector, and civil society join forces and together play a greater governance role in efforts to combat the virus.
30 years have passed since the virus was first discovered, leaving 10 million people untreated to this day. According to UNAIDS, in the past 3 decades, more than 65 million people have been infected, at least 30 million people have died, and more than 16 million children have been left orphaned by AIDS. Currently, nearly 2 million people die from AIDS-related diseases each year. However, record achievements have been made, whereby between the years 2001 and 2009, the global annual rate of new HIV infections declined by nearly 25%.
Today, we can say that 56 countries, and 36 of them in Africa, have been able to stabilize the epidemic and even to reduce the number of new infections significantly. You heard South Africa reduced by 35%, India more than 50%. China reduced the mortality due to HIV by 64%. Botswana, Mali, Morocco, Brazil, I can go on.
In line with efforts to bring concerted global action on AIDS, the UN Security Council passed a resolution on Tuesday marking the deadly link between HIV and conflict and post-conflict situations. About 30 heads of state and government gathered at the opening day of the 3-day-long event, along with leaders from international organizations, civil society, and people living with HIV. On Friday, the final day of the UN high-level meeting on AIDS, UN member states are expected to adopt a declaration which will guide country responses to HIV for the next 5 years. Afaf Kanja for South South News at the United Nations General Assembly Hall.